Hey guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 37 of KSP Road to Exploration, and today we start where we left off last episode by sending our Moho probe down to Moho to hopefully land this time, because the last one went horribly, but I was very smart about this one, as I always am with everything, except all of those stuff that goes wrong. Anyway, I've put a liquid fuel engine on this for leaving Kerbin, so that we can leave much faster, because I'm using very low impulse very low thrust but very high specific impulse engines for doing my on-orbit maneuvers around the sun and Moho, so that I can so that I have enough delta V. But I need to leave Kerbin more quickly, so I strapped on this stage to the top of a pulsar 4, and here we are leaving. As you can see, the probe has 3 arc jet thrusters instead of the 4 I had on it last time. It has a bunch of solar panels, more than last time again, so I can use them at full thrust further out from the sun. And yeah, the lander's pretty much the same, I think entirely actually. And yeah, so we actually have enough delta V in this stage to leave and have about 600 left over. So here we are just doing our escape burn that will get us down near Moho, and then we have to do a plane change when we get down there, which will be a little difficult because it's right near Moho. And you can see I've screwed up the escape maneuver slightly because I no longer have my encounter. So I'm just tweaking this, trying to figure out the best way of getting my encounter. And you can see if I kind of do this, I get a very close encounter once I've changed my inclination. But I need to be going a little slower because I overburn slightly. And I try fixing that down here, but that's going to be, well, obviously a massive burn. And even if I was to perform a retrograde burn higher up in my orbit, it would still cost a huge amount of fuel to get my encounter with Moho. So I'm just going to do a slight retrograde burn, which you'll see in a while, after setting my dish to point at the ground comm 3 so that we don't lose communications, which we definitely do not want to do. So yeah, here we are. We're just doing a bit of a retrograde burn. You can see in the nav ball. We are going to be doing a retrograde burn after I've got my plane all aligned. Yeah, we're just going to keep throttling up the engine, tweaking the maneuver, and seeing how much closer we get. And this is the most efficient way to do it, because we're furthest from Moho, and I could have done one later, but it would have just been more fuel. And we want as much delta V as possible, because I have about 1,000 meters per second excess delta V from what I actually need to get into orbit of Moho and land. But I will lose some of that on the journey down to Moho, because I'm going to have to start burning really early. So that will be an issue, but we'll deal with that later. We should have enough delta V to at least get into orbit of Moho and pretty much definitely land. So anyway, we've got a launch. We're going to have a lot of launches this episode, because we've got a lot of things to do, and you can see in the Kerbal alarm clock we have a Kerbin to Eve window. So yes, we have prepared ourselves another Eve probe. What we were just seeing was the Moho probe, which is Buzzard 5, my 5th Buzzard probe, and this is Buzzard 4, which is a little odd because I designed this first, so this has the designation Buzzard 4 even though it's going after Buzzard 5. But yeah, it's another lander. Thanks, loud cars, you're totally not ruining this video. So we ditched the first stage and we're going to push ourselves on into orbit. But yes, this will be this actually has something that will enter the atmosphere of Eve, which we didn't do last time we went there. Well, we technically did enter the atmosphere of Eve, but we didn't. But it was just a tiny little piece of mech jeb that fell to the surface and took like 3 hours to get there. But this is an actual lander, which will hopefully manage to get us a bunch of science from the surface of Eve, and it will be rather nice. Hopefully it'll land in the oceans, because it doesn't have landing legs, because the landing legs would just burn off. You slow down very quickly in the atmosphere of Eve, but you also burn up very quickly, so that does have a heat shield. And here we are just with the Pulsar 3, landing this stage, as I often do. I think this is one of my faster landings. I set up the parachutes to all open at 500 meters. I should really do this in the VAB, because every time, I know I don't show this bit much, but I have to tweak the opening altitude to 500 every time on descent, and there's always a huge race to do it, and I'm like, I should just do this in the VAB. But yeah, oh no, this isn't my super fast landing, because we have a lot of time. But yeah, here we are just touching down, and these bigger rockets require propulsion and parachutes to land. The Pulsar 3 and 4, whereas the Pulsar 2 just lands on parachutes. But anyway, here we are back above Kerbin, about to push our way into orbit. We've gotten a little high, actually. I did that so that we didn't accidentally fall back into the atmosphere. So I'm just going to tweak that a little bit to be in an 80-kilometer orbit, so we're a little more efficient heading to Eve. You don't need a ton of delta V to get to Eve. There is a pretty hefty inclination change, but getting into orbit of Eve is pretty easy because it's so massive. You can get yourself into an elliptical orbit quite easily. A low orbit's kind of difficult, but, well, not difficult, it requires quite a lot of fuel. But yeah, well, so do a lot of things. Anyway, so we need to bring back this stage. Because obviously we have our fully reusable rockets, and we just perform our deorbit burn here, so that we're going to come down in the right location, and then we just deorbit nicely, fly over these mountains, almost explode the tanks, but I balance it just enough. And then we land in the grasslands behind the KSC, pretty close, and because I have enough fuel I can actually land, because usually I'd lose the engine if I didn't have some fuel to slow me down, and we land perfectly on the engine bell, which is quite nice. So yeah, anyway, here after doing a few planning a few maneuvers, we have our encounter with Eve, and we will get into a nice trajectory actually. And I was just going to see if I could drop down to Moho, but I can't, so I didn't bother leaving that in. And yeah, we're just going to perform our burn with this little transfer stage. It's a pretty small transfer stage, but it's a pretty light probe. There's an orbiter there which will also be going on to Gilly, but also needs to stay in orbit because it will provide long-range communications, because I can't really take one of those big antennas down into the atmosphere of Eve with me. It would just be too heavy to guard from the heat. So I'm going to leave this in orbit, and it'll relay the signal back to Kerbin from the lander, and then hopefully if there's enough fuel left in the orbiter, it'll go on to Gilly, and maybe even land, because it has such a Gilly has such a low gravity, well, gravitational pull, gravitational distortion, because gravity isn't really a pull, it's a distortion. If you, like me, I was going to say know your physics, but read some of those articles one time and were like, oh, now I'm going to say this all the time, because fuck you, science class, I'm smart. Yeah, I was one of those annoying kids, and it's like, oh, I want to learn about this. No, I won't let you. I'm going to tell you about what this really means. It's like, I just want to go to class, man. Yep, so yeah, school was fun with me. So yeah, we've got our encounter. I'm actually going the wrong way at this point, but I do change that, I think, in the video as well. Yeah, there we go. We want to go around this way so that we're orbiting the same way as Gilly, so that we can get an encounter more easily, because Gilly has such low gravity, it has to be kind of pinpoint. But our main mission is landing in the atmosphere of Eve. Gilly is a secondary objective. And we already do have a satellite down there, which is orbiting, which will also be a relay. It's totally out of fuel though, so I can't position it in a better orbit, but it may help. I'll have to figure out the best way of doing that. We also fly by the moon, annoyingly. It doesn't really do anything, but on both I have another probe going somewhere later this episode, and you'll see that. No, do I? No. That was a lie. That was the Moho thing. Wait, what did? Oh no, the Moho probe also flew by the moon. That was kind of annoying. That'd be crazy if it was 3 probes in one episode. But yes, that will be heading down to Eve, which is nice. So yeah, we've got another couple of probes on the way. We have a lot of probes going places. We have the Buzzard 1. No, we have something headed for Dres. I think that's Buzzard 1. We have Eagle 1 headed for Jewel. We have Buzzard 3 headed for Duna. We have Buzzard 4 headed for Eve, and Buzzard 5 headed for Moho. We are going to explore these planets, and next time the Duna window comes around, as I've said, we will be sending Kerbals. Anyway, thinking more about closer to Kerbin right now, we've got another Aries 1 launch, my manned vehicle. I really should get the Aries 3 up and running at some point, because Dragon 2 is cool, but I don't really have any need for it anymore. But I will raise a little bit of money to do at least one test flight of that Dragon 2 type spacecraft, just to see if it works well, which I'm not sure it will. But anyway, yes, we need to push on into orbit. We've got a pilot and a scientist, Adam Kerman and Gregvin. Yes, we already have 2 scientists on the station, or is this an engineer? Who knows? It's one of them. We have basically. I'm starting to send up crew for another moon base mission, because we will be heading back to the moon base at some point, because I haven't really used it. I've kind of been like, oh well, I should go there, but I need to send this, and I'm just gonna go, and I'm probably gonna send that rover, and I've also got a plan for a new type of lander this episode. So yeah, we're gonna start utilizing that moon base a little more, because I don't really do that enough. And here we are, just landing the Pulsar 2 stage on the ocean, and I've actually left the fairing in. There's a little fairing that I usually pop out at the top of the rocket. That cost me like $1,000. So I'm going to start leaving that in rather than popping it out. Yeah, fairings are very expensive. The Falcon 9 will, well, they're already you're landing and hopefully soon reusing first stages. You can see how they'll be able to reuse second stages. It's a challenge, but I'm sure they'll do it. But fairings are quite difficult, because those are like a few $1 million, and like, how do you get that back? Because it doesn't have any engines. I guess you could throw a parachute in it and make it really heat resistant. But yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot of people far smarter than me at SpaceX, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. But yes, here we are, just getting our encounter. Although I hear it is kind of hard to work for SpaceX, because Musk is so demanding. Obviously, because, I mean, he doesn't suffer fools. I mean, if you're not going to give your life to this, then it's like, this is probably the things he's working on, like Tesla and Solar City and SpaceX. They're like some of the most important things in the world, like on a large scale, like, you know, global warming, just basically making us not die right now, and also have somewhere else to go when we do inevitably fuck it up, or if the sun expands and swallows the Earth. Oh. Yeah, this is a fun episode, but yeah. So I mean, you gotta work hard, like really fucking hard, if you're gonna work at SpaceX. Although I don't know if I could do that, but maybe one day they'll need a software engineer. But I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't think I quite have that temperament. You know, I can work hard, especially on like programming, but I don't know. But anyway, here we are just docking to the top of the station, one of the free docking ports. There's going to be less and less docking ports because I'm setting up more vehicles, actually. And we resupply the life support, and we actually do a pretty good job. That's quite a lot of life support back in there. We've got one tank full now. And we've got this other kind of tank of life support. We're having life support tanks. But these containers, I guess, are almost half full, actually. So yeah, we're doing a pretty good job of keeping this all fed. But yeah, I've got a bit of a special payload in the Aries. One actually, so I'm going to get out Adam, who is an engineer actually, and we're going to grab these little things from here, and these are C4, well K4, but yeah, these are a couple of little explosives. I thought it would be good to have these on the station because I'm crazy. No, I thought it'd be good to have these on the station just in case like anything ever gets stuck and I need to separate it. Sometimes it's good to have explosives. I mean, they used to put C4 in the shuttle so that if it was going to hit a city, it's like, well, yeah, we got to kill these people, but it'll save more people. Because that'd be really bad if the shuttle hit the city. Well, anyway, yes, this Aries one was not to stay in space too long. We've loaded it up with Mitgen Kerbin, our wonderful pilot, and a couple of tourists that we took to Minmus last episode, and we're going to bring them home. So yeah, we're just doing our deorbit burn and then our re-entry. This is kind of my standard style of showing re-entries now, because I do them so often, it's like, I don't want to keep seeing this tape. Or maybe you do. Maybe you do want to see everything uncut, live commentary. Trust me, you don't. But anyway, yeah, and here we are landing on the beautiful, if a little glitchy, Scatterer Ocean, which is, yeah, we landed way off KSC, so we're not going to get tons of money back. Yeah, we only got, like, a little bit of money back for that. And then, yeah, we completed our missions, 11 reputation and about 45 grand. So, yeah, we got a little more money there, and we've got another launch planned. What are we launching right now, tape? Well, I'll tell you when I figure out what it is. I'm pretty sure this is the Thor 1. Yes, we have a new vehicle destined for the station and eventually the moon and maybe Minmus, but probably not. This is the replacement for Red Origin 3, my little lander that I've been reusing and using loads. The problem with that is it's only a 2-person lander, and I need a minimum of a 3-person lander, because if I'm going to go to the moon base, I need a pilot, I need an engineer, and I need a scientist, because that is how you do science and don't break shit and fly stuff on on the surface of a body. So I'm gonna need them. And also, when I have a mission to take 2 tourists to the surface of a planet, I don't want to have to do 2 missions. You know how expensive that is? Even with reusable rockets, it's not profitable. So yes, this is a slightly bigger 3-person lander, and it'll come with its accompanying slightly bigger fuel tank, like the one the Red Origin 3 uses for going long distance, and then it leaves it in orbit and lands. So yes, you can see it's quite a small, compact lander. It has a science module actually attached to it this time. The Red Origin 3 has a modular one that you can take off. But yeah, but while that's heading to the station, we need to land this stage. I've left 2 of these in now. Yeah, I thought I might as well, because I rarely leave them in. It is kind of nice to see these land their full sequence. And yeah, this is, I think, is my super fast landing. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, because I want to land it really quickly. So I've set up the parachutes to open super late, and we land. Is that 1 times time accelerate? No. Okay, that was 4 times time accelerate. But yeah, we try to land pretty fast by just burning at the last second, as you saw there. Although I don't think that was actually my super fast landing. I've really got to... Oh, it's the next one. I always get this thing in my mind. I'm like, it's this one. Nope. It's this one. Nope. But yeah. Anyway, so we can send this to the station, and then after this we will be sending up a big fuel tank for it, like a slightly bigger one than the one the Red Origin 3 has. So it can go long distance, leave the tank in orbit, and then go and meet it and come back. Yeah, so this will just be more, well, better. I will at some point have dedicated landers on each moon, but I really need to be able to mine fuel for that. And yes, I have the technology, but no, I don't have the knowledge, and I really need the narrowband scanner to really know where I'm going to be mining fuel. And yeah, until I'm definitely sure that my mining operation is viable, I'm not going to be setting one up. So this is the kind of in-between of a Red Origin 3 and my eventual kind of much better landing system, where you go to the station and there's a lander there, so you don't need like a lander that goes from Kerbin to moon to the moon. You just need a transfer vehicle. But yes, anyway, we need to bring back this stage, so we're gonna land it here. As you can see, I'm just bringing the periaps down quite low because we've kind of overshot, and it actually worked out pretty well because here we are landing 8 kilometers away from the KFC. I think that's pretty close, and we get a lot of money back for that. But yes, anyway, back on orbit. Here is Thor 1. I don't really know why I call it Thor. It's a cool name, I guess, and I don't really want to name these things birds. And after birds, because all my probes are named after birds, you know, eagle and buzzard and kestrel. I quite like that, but I want the manned spacecraft to be named something else. So I did what every boring ass person does, and went for Greek and various gods, Norse gods actually, if it's Thor. But yeah, maybe, and I also have, you know, Aries and Hermes, so I'm good. Greek gods, Norse gods, I'll probably do... Actually, no, because most of our planets are named after Roman gods, and it's weird if you have a Jupiter spacecraft, because it's like, well, that's a spacecraft that's a planet in... so yeah, anyway, that sounds weird. So basically just Greek gods and birds and Norse gods and stuff. So anyway, that's all docked on, but it is basically useless right now. So we're going to send up the big fuel tank to make it able to go to other planets and well, actually probably could go to other planets, but what I mean is other bodies, the moon and Minmus, and next episode we will indeed be going back to the moon base. I might even launch that rover, which is very expensive and may break, but is pretty cool, and I did unlock bigger wheels this episode because my science lab my lab on the station is doing really well for science. I never really filmed that, but I get a lot of science from that. I also want to put a science module down on the surface of the moon. Yeah, because I'm going to start utilizing the moon a little more. I basically cleaned up most of the science on Minmus, so the moon is going to be my thing. I've been saving the moon, really, for a little bit more kind of interesting things, so I didn't spam the science out of it. But yes, we're going to push this into orbit. It is very heavy because it is full of fuel. And yeah, and then it'll move on to the station by itself with RCS, and it can use the fuel if it wants, because I did put up a couple of engines on the kind of RCS tug, so that I can use the payload fuel. Oh, and this is the super fast landing. This is at 1 times time accelerate, and I really wanted to land it fast, so this is how fast I land. Yeah, just basically fire the engines just before you hit the ground so that you slow down just in time. And here we are, landing rather nicely on the ocean. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about all episode. But yes, anyway, we're not done yet. I've started launching, as I've said a few times, in front of the station so that it's much easier to rendezvous, because I can put myself into a higher orbit. It's actually a little less efficient, but it's just easier. So I'm going to try and use monopropellant as much as I can here so I don't have to send a fueling mission. This also has enough life support for 3 Kerbals to go to Minmus and back. It has, I know it doesn't have an antenna, it's just basically a fuel tank and some life support. And it does have a probe on it, though, so it doesn't get deleted by persistent debris deletion. But yeah, you can see that little RCS tug does have a couple of engines, so if I really did need to use the fuel, I could. But I'd rather keep it all in there. And I have a lot of monopropellant as well. So yeah, we've got our encounter, and we're just going to drift around the planet and maneuver in closer to the station, and then fetch it with the lander. And then, yeah, next episode we will be going back to the moon base, and we'll be... I don't think we're getting to any planets next episode, but in the next... kind of few episodes, there are going to be a lot of encounters with planets. But yeah, it's episode 37, and we still have everyone around Kerbin, or on Kerbin, or sometimes on the moon, but that's technically around Kerbin. But hey, I like playing KSP like this, and I've had some people say that they like the style, and it seems to be doing well. I mean, this series, and I do just, yeah, I enjoy this, you know? Like, when I eventually send a Kerbal to Duna, everyone's going to be like, what the fuck? I was not expecting that! Yeah, it'll be way more momentous, I think, you know? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could just send a... Well, actually, I'm not sure if I even really could, because it's taken me so long to do this, because on hard mode, you have to really make your system cost-effective. So reusable rockets and a giant station, and all of that was really necessary for this to work. So yeah, I'm glad I did this, and I sort of understand NASA's kind of stalling in low orbit a little more now, because, I mean, well, although, except my reusable system worked, yeah, sick burn on the space shuttle tape. Yeah, you nailed him. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna go. Yeah, but yeah, you see that you can quite easily stall in low orbit. And this is actually called Thor 1 Lander, and the fuel tank's called Thor 1, so that's pretty bad naming scheme, but yeah, we're going to dock on here. And you can see the lander has some sort of interesting fueling system, because I wanted a very specific amount of fuel. But yeah, we're going to go put that on the station, and then it will be the end of the episode. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to the future episodes where a ton of probes are going to get places, and where we'll be preparing for a manned mission, going back to the moon base, maybe testing that, doing a test flight of that Dragon 2 spacecraft, which I think could be really cool, even if it's not super useful, but it could land really precisely, which is really good. So yeah. But anyway, that is that, and I like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.